right, Zig coming in on the top 10 of the show. We have Mike Miller of Endless Mike and the Beagle Club, an amazing singer-songwriter out of Johnstown, PA. Mike is playing at the Coda in Tremont on April 2nd. I recommend, if you can, go see him at this gig. It's going to be a solo show. We're going to listen to his full band, but the songwriting's there, man. You got to check this guy out. When Mike reached out, I didn't realize he was a soggy dogger. That's a weird one to say. But if my friends from Lakewood who might have checked out the Matt Sherman Lowercase Roses episode, you guys know of the magic that was the Soggy Dog. It was just a local DIY venue, and it's still showing, like with this episode. So I was super amped up to talk with Mike. We had a schedule, and it kept getting bounced back and forth. And we locked it in, and this is our chat. But before that, let's listen to a track off St. Paul. We're gonna listen to St. Paul off St. Paul because in our conversation, I get music nerdy on him about this and like ask him to explain some of the layers. So here we go. Endless Mike in the Beagle Club, St. Paul off St. Paul. St. Paul off St. Paul. Endless Mike in the Beagle Club. April 2nd. The Coda, Tremont, Ohio. Make sure you guys check it out. So yeah, we're going to get into this conversation, and if you can, find it in your hearts to like, rate, review, subscribe to the podcast on one of the many podcast platforms. It helps me keep talking to cool guests like Mike and sharing their insights with you. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Mike. How did you come across the show?
I know Matt Sherman.
Oh, no way. Okay, Matt's
I saw that he was on it. Yeah. And I was looking for going on a plane trip. So I was looking for podcasts to download. And I found his and the one with the guy from the Smoking Popes. And I was like, oh, this is, I'm going to be in Cleveland. This is a cool show. Maybe I can get on it.
Hell yeah, man. Oh, cool. Oh, Matt's such a cool dude. And, like, he moved out to did you know him from Cleveland or did you know him from Philly?
So I don't know him super well, but I know him from those Cleveland Soggy Doghouse days.
Let's get into the Soggy Dog. So what brought you to the Soggy Dog?
Well, we just on tour. We played there a bunch of times. We would usually either start tours or end tours there,
Yeah.
if we were going west or even going west and then heading south and stuff like that. Yeah, we just somehow got, I don't know, we would have somehow just got booked to play one of their basement shows. And then we ended up knowing all those guys that did like the DIT fests and the stuff in Kent and the Berea Fest, like that kind of scene. So what, like 2006?
Yeah.
Even later? Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So was it what was it? Endless Mike that was touring? Was that the group or was this a different group?
No, this was the Beagle Club. Yeah.
Okay.
This was the Beagle Club. We've been doing this on and off since a little before then, up until now. It's just been always kind of there.
Gotcha, man. Like when you sent me your music, I listened to St. Paul first, and I was like, holy shit. This is such a good record. Like how it's produced, all the songwriting, everything is layered so perfectly. Like that's been my jam since I was like, sure, let's talk.
Awesome.
But
thanks.
So like with like how a project like the Beagle Club comes together, like it's so layered in particular. Even going through the other Spotify that had the older music.
Mm-hmm.
On a side note, is there a reason for that? Or was that like the
reason they're split like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, AF Records put up St. Paul, and they put it up first, and we didn't have a Spotify.
Oh.
And then I was like, okay, fine, I'll put up the old stuff. Eventually, when we started like being kind of active again, I was like, all right, we'll put the old stuff up, because the next oldest thing from St. Paul was from 2008. So
yeah.
They never put anything else up. And then I put it up, and then they were going to like combine them. And I think, they wrote to Spotify to get them combined, and I guess it just never happened.
Okay. Because like, I was like, what? Like, there was that point where getting on Spotify was like, it wasn't possible. You know what I mean? Like you had to know someone or pay someone to do it. And
Right.
like, and then eventually, I don't know what the platform became easier to work with or whatever, but it
For all those
seems
like distributors, yeah, you could just like send your stuff and it goes everywhere.
right. Like the distro kid or the
Yeah.
CD
Yep.
baby bought into it. Yeah.
Hmm.
And like, okay, all right. Cause like, I was like, oh, they only got one record and it's fucking amazing. And then I'm like, oh, wait, there's another link. And like,
Yeah.
but that seeing the progress from those early works leading up to this makes sense. Now, like, what kind of bands were like influencing this kind of wall of sound?
I don't know that it was so much like. So I'll tell the story that you know, and I was in a band. We were a 4-piece, just like a emo punk band kind of thing, and then but I was also writing these little like acoustic songs on the side, the ones that turned into like the first Beagle Club stuff. And my friend was like, "Hey, you're writing this solo stuff. Why don't you play this show? I'm throwing a show." This was in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, where I'm from. I was like, "Okay," so I'll play the show. But then, like 2 nights before, he was like, "That whole show is going to be." He was like, "Still good for the show?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Cool. It's going to be all like acoustic singer-songwriter stuff." And I was like, "Oh no." That's super boring. So I was like complaining about that to all my friends. We were out and about, and I was like, "Well, let's go. We'll go back to Joe's house, and we'll start. And I'll show you guys how to play these songs." And so, like, all my friends were in their own bands too, right? So these were all people that were in different bands that could play instruments and stuff. So we just got together and played these songs, and it just started, and it was super fun. And it was really fun to do it that way too, to just kind of like, "Hey, do you want to learn these songs and play with us this time?" Sure. And it sort of turned from being just me to turning into like anytime I would say, "Okay, I have a show this night. Do you guys want to come or do you guys want to play it?" There would be this big pool of people that knew how to play instruments and knew these songs, and all my friends and stuff, and people that didn't know how to play instruments, but they were like, "Yeah, I'll play. Let's go. We'll do something." And it eventually turned to like when I would put that out, like, "Hey, okay, I'm going to go on tour. Like, who wants to come with me?" That 10 people would say, "Yeah, I'll come." Then there were just 10 of us. So it just kept building it. That's just kind of on its own turned into that. It was never the idea of like, let's have a huge band. It was always just like, "Do you want to play?" And then if whoever said yes, I'd say, "Yeah, all right, come on." So if that meant 10 people, 12 people, then it meant we had 12 people,
Yeah.
We went on tour as a 16-piece once.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was the best.
That's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really cool like one because I host a lot of mic nights, and there's a thing with like, yeah, come on up, let's see how it goes. There's like this, it becomes a communal effort, and I can see
Yeah.
like that the singer-songwriter thing. I did my first actually this week. I don't know if you ever done one of them, the songwriter round things where you sit in a line of people and like they're like, this song
Sure.
was about my male guy's daughter, and this like they explain it and then they play it and then you have to, and like I was really bad at explaining stuff, so I just started like trying out bits and telling random stories, but like it's such a weird like I mean that's almost cool because you're kind of doing it with people, like what I mean, but like
Yeah.
the solo thing it can be so alienating in a way, but when you do it like that, when it becomes like a fun communal effort, now it's not like come see me play in the Domino's restaurant, whatever,
Right.
for 4 hours. Not that that's what type of gigs you were doing, but like what I mean, like that's a really cool like way to test the waters, just like and have fun with it.
Yeah. We had a really great scene, like a really, really great scene to where it was, you could start a band and then play a show like the next show that was coming up. And there would be like, 200 kids there and everybody knew each other and everybody was willing to like go along for the ride,
That's amazing.
So it was really could have only been born in that scene at that time, like with all those people and everybody willing to like, yeah, let's just try it. Everybody get it. You know what I mean? Because it was hard. It was kind of like odd to explain to people when we'd go out of town,
Yeah.
But it made total sense, like the first day that we did it in Johnstown, like because everybody knew who everybody was, and it was cool to see, like, oh, this guy from that band's playing in it tonight. That's awesome. Do you know what I mean? Like it was like it was really natural, and it just made total sense.
Yeah, yeah.
From the very first.
And I don't know. There's something beautiful when a solo show, which everyone has the right in, like, it's equally as beautiful to do, but to make it that group effort. Now everyone's involved in this thing, like, and it just amplifies it in a different way. Now through this kind of like period of like welcoming almost anyone who would be down to play with you, was there like a handful of people that really stuck the mold, like made the song like fit, that you continued to work with through this experimental era, or did it always just kind of come and go?
No, very much. It kind of evolved pretty quickly into being that, like, okay, it's just my band, and if there are, it's only my band and everybody else is just there for the night, to being like, we're all in this band. Like, even if you can't play this show tonight, like, you're still in the band. You know what I mean? Like, I'd still be playing a solo set, but it would be still part of that band, But yeah, there was definitely like a core that worked towards arranging the songs and took that part of it seriously too. Right, within like the next batch worth of songs. Like, there was that first batch of songs that I had just written. And then moving forward, everything from the Husky Tenor record forward was like my brother Matt, very much so. And he was in the band that I was in when I started the Beagle Club. And I was like, it was even part of it was like when I was writing those songs, I'd be like, what do you think about like this kind of stuff? And he was like, I don't really want to play. Like, I'm not real interested in like just like the simple kind of like whatever. Like, I think you should just do your own thing. But then as it moved, like even when we first started, he was still just like, this is so cool to just watch. Like, I think I'm just going to not be a part of it. But by the time it got to the Husky Tenor thing, I had worn him down. And then he was there, and he was like arranging with me and stuff too. He's a huge part of the you were talking about, like the layering of it and stuff like that. That was him just being like, if we've got all these people, if we have 3 guitars, like this song should have 3 guitar parts. Like, let's write some parts,
Right.
We know people that play strings and horns. Like, let's put some strings and horns parts. Like, and even just like the handing out that we had literally like a crate of like shakers and tambourines that would be on the side of the stage. So even if people didn't think they were going to play, it'd be like, hey, come on up if you want to,
That's...
And even those, like when it came time to write songs and put new stuff together, Matt was like, we got this like you can make this like a section. We'll make this like a percussion section. So he was hugely in on that. My friend Davis plays the drums, and he recorded everything except for St. Paul. He had recorded. He was the producer and all that stuff. So we would listen to those songs forever, getting them right. He was a huge part of it. He plays the drums in the Beagle Club live and on the records too, but he can play everything too.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. I mean, like, that's it's really interesting because, like, just kind of like picking apart how like music works in the brain, right? Like, there's this when we sing together, there's this chemical released called not serotonin, oxytocin, which is like released when you're in love with someone or when you have like this romantic connection, right? And like to include people in the show like that makes them part of it. They're singing with you. They have that percussion bucket on the side. Though, like, most people are like, I'm doing it wrong. There's 2 people doing it right, so your wrong thing's right, buddy. Like, you're doing quarter note triplets. How about that? Like,
that's it.
But it's so this beautiful organic like process of how this like team came together. Sorry, I think I cut you off. Were you going to say someone else?
Everybody brought something to it. Cody plays the bass, and he always drove the van too. So he was very like
crucial.
Yeah, he was crucial and task oriented like that. And everybody that John that would arrange the strings and could play the strings and could play everything, and he would run around on stage and change instruments in the middle of it. To like every single person that to play the percussion, the backup singers, the organs and the keyboards, and everybody that was ever in it had a part in it for sure. And when We Are Still at War, it was actually recorded live, and there are like 16, 20 people on some of those songs, and we worked those songs out in the space the big like art space that all the shows were in Johnstown. Just like for a month leading up to it, we worked them out, so everybody had their part on it. So
Was it
yeah,
recorded there?
yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. So yeah, tell me about what's the art space that all these like what was your soggy dog in Johnstown?
They were at first it was fire halls, and
Yeah.
like rental halls, community halls, and stuff like that. That's where all the magic was, where it all came up and started to be. As in the later years, there was a warehouse that got rented out, and it's called 709 Railroad Street, and it was like a warehouse, and they changed it into like an art space too, and it was really great. But it was that was sort of towards the end, and that's where the Beagle Club record was recorded and stuff. But it was all really built up from these little fire halls and community rental halls and stuff. And the reason they got one was like, well, we're just gonna have a place that's our own, and it was great. I mean, it was really great. But people started getting older and moving out, and there weren't any new kids moving into it. I think there's a lot of factors about why scenes cycle and come and go,
Right. Well, yeah, definitely. Especially like I don't know. Especially I don't know if there's like I don't know Johnstown too well, but like when people move to go to college and like, and like there's that magic moment. I feel like in unless it's like a city, you know what I mean, like that, like out of like in a suburb or whatever, like it doesn't really it catches on and then fades out. Then I think there's a fire. There's always someone that was like super young at one of those shows that wants to start it back up. Like, did you ever play any of the Berea Fest shows out here?
We never played at Berea Fest. No, we
Okay.
played at the Do It Together Fests.
Yeah, yeah.
We did those.
Yeah,
They were
equally
great.
as cool. Yeah, but like, man, I only caught a few Berea Fests, but I would love to have another one. You know what I mean? Like, so like, and I think that's the thing, being there and being like, what's going on? Oh, we don't do that anymore. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It was that was that same scene. Like it was the same bands, and that was a really cool time because there were a lot of bands like, and we were a part of it, and that was really cool to have friends from all over the country and meeting people and running into people. And yeah, that was one of my favorites, was the DIT scene for sure.
Community's so important for anyone that's like trying to like express themselves in other ways, in any ways. I mean, like, and just find a group of people that are like, yeah, I kind of want to try that too. Like that exception of like, oh, they're writing a song, I'm gonna listen. Just having a quarter of the world where that happens and allowing that to happen. Like, I had a really interesting happening. I went with my girlfriend to a drag show. I don't know if you ever been to one, but like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, it was super fun, and like, man, they just got tips like the whole time, and I'm like, I'm in the wrong business. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And like, but at the end of it, the queen that was running it was like, "Thank you for coming out and supporting local drag." And I was like, that in my mind, I was like, "We're all doing this. That's the music community. That's the comedy community. Wherever, like, it's just such a blessing and like such a magic moment to have a group or anyone that comes together to support you trying to express yourself. And if it's a nurturing ground, like it sounds like that you guys made, or like the Soggy Dog made, where it sprouts out and the roots grow and connect. It's such a magic thing.
It's the best.
It's the what?
It's the best for sure.
Oh man. So okay, so from recording that, like, did your brother help with St. Paul? Did he help with a lot of layering with that, or was that working with because you worked with Chris of Anti-Flag on that? Yeah.
We did work with Chris from Anti-Flag on that. We had started to record it before AF wanted to put it out. So we had a really good idea of what we wanted it to sound like. So most of that production and the layering and the arrangements and stuff like that. Yeah, most of that was us and Matt. And quite a bit of it was still Chris too. Because then when we got together, then it was another head in there to come up with more ideas and change things up and stuff. So yeah.
So like when did the AF even become aware? Like, was that through touring with a 16-part band occasionally and hitting all these DIY spots? Like, how did that connection come?
Chris Stowe, who is the label manager for AF Records, lived in Johnstown for a while. Again, that was towards the end of like when there was a really great scene, but I knew him a little bit through that. And so he already knew who we were. He had seen us before. Okay. And then he took over AF Records, and then, you know, it had been those years in between where we weren't playing, but then we started playing up again. And my friend Derek is in the Homeless Gospel Choir, and he was signed to AF Records. And we were playing this show that my friend Rob is going to be playing with me at the Coda show in Cleveland.
That's right, on April 2nd?
Yeah. He does the thing called the Ghost Right. And he was throwing this like multi-venue kind of fest in Pittsburgh. And so Derek and Stowe came to see us play at that. And after we were done, he was just like, I want to put your record out. Like, you want to put a record out? Put it out with me. We're like, all right, cool.
Nice. And like, so from that experience, like working with Chris, like what was like some like insights, like in looking at it with at least his perspective of it, like what were some lessons learned from like organizing what you guys had with him?
It was a lot of trying to accommodate getting the people in and out of the studio to do their parts. Like I was there every day, you know?
Yeah.
And, but it was me and Chris were there every day. And every other day was, okay, today's drums. So we got to make sure Davis is here for today and tomorrow. And let's work on these parts with these songs. So everything was done like in sections. But what was really cool about was that he was able to keep that all really organized. Like he knew what was needed on every song and when to bring, like, all right, tomorrow we should do these ones. So whoever you need for that, bring them in. You know what I mean? And he worked really fast too. Like he would be able to catch it really fast. And he was also super enthusiastic and funny and fun the whole time. So the whole thing was really fun. Like he kept everybody's spirits way up. He was like, you can see him like, he'd be like cheering you on through the booth and stuff like that. It was awesome.
Well, I think that picks up on the record, man, because it's as soon as that first song, Intro to Philosophy, which is like an amazing title for a song. Like I clicked, I'm like, yep, I'm already in, and like, but that it hits, like it's bumping the whole time, and like there are slower songs, but even like that, I don't know. So that's interesting that was in the studio too, just from the guy producing it. That's badass.
Yeah.
Okay, so like. As it like is it mapped out? Is he writing in what he needs, or is it just kind of like you're seeing it unfold? Like, does that make sense? That question, like, does he have a chart? He's writing like, okay, we need this and this today. Or...
they have that's where Anti-Flag does their work too, and where they would demo stuff out, and even when I guess they made some records there too. They don't use that space anymore. They're starting up a new one, like they're building up a new space now. But they had like a big whiteboard on the wall. And it was like a chart, and it would have the song, and then across the top, it would say what all needed to go on them. You know, and we'd just put little check marks until the whole board was filled in with check marks. And by the time it was done, all those little X's on there, it looked crazy because there's so many parts and so many different songs and stuff. So that was really funny.
Like, because even like thinking of like a song like Intro to Philosophy, when it drops off and you sing the line Nashville and you get the lap steel guitar in there, or the pedal steel, like, is that part written like that? Like, did you know a guy, or is that like something he suggested, or like?
That was written. That was on the very first demo that I did when I gave it to Matt and Davis. Like, I made it drop out and turn into that little part, and so that's what I mean. Like having so many people, you can do that kind of stuff, right? And try to make it fun. You know, when I write these songs, that song has 3 chords. It's got the 4th there at the end, but it's just a 3-chord song. But you got all these people, you can do all these tricks.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of cool stuff in that like that. There's a part where they play Stars and Stripes Forever.
Yeah, yeah.
There's Davis's little marching beat there. There's everything has a different little. Yeah, that was all mapped out, or at least talked about, like when we gave Chris the demos and then we listened to them together. It's like, all right, that part should do that. The guy that actually plays the steel on that's Justin Francis that played that, and he mixed the album.
Oh, okay.
And so we sent it to him in Nashville, and he just put that part on there.
Sick. Yeah, Because it's interesting, like the complexity and layeredness of like the music matches like the density of the lyrics in a way, like that being like a key. Like, oh, you say Nashville, there's that sound, but like just the songs themselves are like fascinating enough and are well written enough that they can hold on their own. But like going through like mentally like listening to the record and like trying to analyze the lyrics as they happen, like, oh, they're all like these beautiful like nuggets of like thoughts and like that matches the music with it. And like I don't maybe as a musician, like my mind's just like dopamining out, like, oh, that's cool, oh, I see what, oh, okay, that's, yeah, you know what I mean, like,
No, that's great. That's yeah. We just like that kind of cool stuff, Matt especially. But I mean, like, and me, yeah, we just love that kind of stuff. So any chance you get to put something like that in there, we do it.
because like one in particular that really music nerded out, like I had to go around and show my friends, check this out, was in St. Paul at the very end when you get to the gospel like upbeat choir where it's, you know, he's just a man, and like the bass is walking up, do 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 do, and like the call and response, and then when you end on a plagal cadence, like a 4/1, or and like it's like amen, which is that cadence. I was like, oh, lyrically that fits, musically that fits. That's so cool.
That's one of those. That was one of those ones that's like, this could be, but no, let's do it. Like you kind of have to. It's a bit much, but let's go for it. That song in particular, the first time I played it for them, Cody was like real serious, listen to it, you know, just a demo of me pounding away out on a piano, and he just goes, okay, yeah, I think we can pull that off. All right, or I think we can get away with that, or something like that, you know. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like in any other context where like maybe you're just putting all these things in, it could seem cliche and unauthentic. But how you guys do it is true to the song and true to the tone of the group and the lyrics, and like it hits perfectly. And like it's.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
That's awesome that he was like, yeah, we can pull it off. Like,
yeah, I think we can get away with that, is what he said. Yeah, we could get away with that. I think we can get away with that. Matt wrote Matt changed some of the words to the calls and responses, like to some of the things that the choir says. And the choir, that was like, we put out an open call.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to be here. So, you know, if you play a weird instrument and want to be on a record, or if you want to sing in a choir on a gospel song about punk rock, then like, come on down. And yeah, so that was a bunch of people that just kind of, a lot of them just showed up. We knew them, most of them, not all of them.
That's got to be cool too. Like, yeah, I saw the thing in the paper. Did any of those guys stick around that you didn't know from that initial call? Do they come back? Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. But one thing, this is really funny. There was one kid that was there, and he was looking around, and they had all their like road cases spray painted, you know, anti-flag and stuff, because it's, like I said, that's their practice space too, is where we recorded it. And this kid was like, why does everything say anti-flag? And Chris goes, because that's my band. That's the band I'm in. I'm in Anti-Flag. This kid was just like, oh.
Well,
our friend Jody came, and she was super cool about it the whole time. Didn't say anything to any of us either. And at the end of it, she goes up to Chris, and she was like, listen, this is really weird and nerdy, but I have this picture of you and me from when you played at Club Log. I got my picture taken with you when I was like 14. And he was like, let's take it again.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Man, that's okay.
You hear her on St. Paul. She does the real high stuff.
Oh, okay.
That's Jody. Yeah. And she's in Try to See Your Life as a Whole as well. The one with the H-O-L-E. She's in that song. Yeah.
Badass. Yeah, that record's so cool. And rapping it with one that really stuck out as well to me was that last song with that like piano loop. Now, was that a loop or was that just recorded? Wait.
No, that was a loop, and that was Chris's idea. That was definitely Dose's idea, and he was like, "We're gonna make it sound like," I don't remember why, but it was a discussion of like, we were just talking about like format, and that it was gonna come out on vinyl. And we were excited to put a record out on vinyl. And he was like, They were supposed to make it sound like your CD is skipping on your vinyl record. Or on your Spotify. Like you're supposed to be like, oh no, my CD is skipping, even though chances are you're not listening to it on a CD. Yeah.
Well, that's gonna be weird when someone's like, I don't get
So just
that.
that is that. And
Yeah.
then the rest of it was really me playing it.
Okay.
He just like chopped the very intro. Yeah.
That was okay. Like that I think worked really well, especially with the content, the lyrical content that came later. Speaking of, are you a Twilight Zone guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best. Yeah.
Likewise. Was it when you had that Rod Sterling quote? I was like, oh, okay. I'm already sold on this now. Like,
Cool.
My buddy, he's got a band called the Neener Neeners. His name's Johnny Haboo.
Okay.
I don't know. Have you crossed paths with that cat?
No.
Okay.
Tell me about the Neener Neeners.
It's all songs based off Twilight Zone episodes, right? And like Eye of the Beholder, like all those like titles themselves are just like good lyrics had they not been TV shows, you know,
For sure.
or scripts. But
Oh yeah, it just deals with the truth. The Twilight Zone's all just it's just about the truth. So I can see how
and it's punk rock because he had to hide it, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
there's a clip from him on YouTube on some that I saw on YouTube, and it was on a very like a interview show on TV, and he's in there and he's talking about that. He's like, television could actually do something to like change this medium. Could be something that could like change our consciousness. This could change our way of dealing with each other for the better, and we're gonna ruin it. It's good. And this was like in such the early days of television. He was like, this would be so great. And he's like, but I promise we're going to ruin it. Like, we're going to blow it. He's like, somebody's going to be telling a story about the truth and about the truths that's in our hearts. And then a dancing box of soap detergent is going to interrupt it to try to sell you something. And it's going to just be pointless. He's like, we're going to ruin it. It's awesome.
he was so right too. Like the internet's just that, but hyped up.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of that show. Like when you dive into like classic episodes like the Eye of the Beholder or the one where like they're telling this narrative and you find spoilers, I guess, but you find out it's like all these toys in a trash can and like just all these like subtle twists that make this belief, like the suspense of disbelief, become in focus. You're like, oh shit. And like it's amazing that even was a TV show, especially back then, with like how like forward thinking these like scripts were and these stories are, and like the only thing that was dressed up was like, oh, it's a dude wearing like an alien mask or some obscure way of looking at it. Like it's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing that truth has to be decorated.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, that song's amazing. The Neener Neeners, Johnny Haboo, that group would like they were just the most wild. He would stack up his bass player and on his shoulders with his sax player on top of his bass player on his shoulders, and he's just like one of those cats that did everything. Like he was a comedian, an author, a comic book artist, and he had this wild band. Okay, so like let's kind of dive into like the process for bringing a song to the level that you present it to the group. So do you have like a process of songwriting? Because if you're coming from like this kind of emo group and just trying out like these acoustic songs, like or like acoustic piano, because what exactly is your main? Is it piano or guitar? You feel
it's guitar.
It's guitar. Okay.
Like I can pretty confidently say that I know how to play the guitar, whereas the piano, like I can play what you've heard recorded. Okay. That's about it. But I got a little better over the pandemic. I played it all the time, so I might be there now. But it's all self-taught. It was guitar first for sure.
Okay, it's weird. Piano, like comping yourself on a guitar, to me makes more sense because I'm a guitar guy. But like when you're playing piano, you gotta think of inversions. You're like, well, you don't just block it like you do on a guitar. Like I'm here, I'm C, now I'm on A minor. Like on piano, you gotta be like, well, I gotta move one finger. Now it's A minor. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's more
Yeah.
thought into it in a way.
I certainly started out playing it like a guitar player, and it would be like to where it was just like octave chords, like everywhere, and then. But I'm starting to figure, that's what I figured out during the pandemic here, was
Gotcha.
inversions and stuff.
Yeah, what'd you do? Did you did you look up like just songs and tear them apart and like, because I haven't found like a good I started looking up like piano singer-songwriters and just trying to look at their progressions and like figure that out. But like, I'm still like pretty, I wouldn't record my piano playing.
No, I don't know. I just would kind of mess around and move things around and okay, wait, this would obviously be an F2.
Okay.
All right, because I know these three notes make an F, so that's it. All right. Oh, here's one, and then just I don't know.
That
just
makes
kind
sense.
of picked it apart on my own. Yeah.
But so like when it comes to songwriting, like when did you do you have like a practice that you do, and is it just inspiration and like you get the like the Dewey Cox? Have you ever seen Walk Hard?
Yeah.
Do you get the Dewey Cox moment where you're like walk hard and just thump it out, or do you is it kind of a practice of just like I write every day? Like how do you go about songwriting?
No, it's those moments of like manic inspiration, I guess, to where like it just kind of comes to you, and it's even if it's just like the first line of something, or I'm messing around on a guitar, and it used to be that, that I would play the guitar every day and come up with something that I thought was kind of cool.
Right.
And then I'd just kind of have that music in my head and just kind of kick it around until it was done.
Well, that makes sense. Like there's no I don't know. I know it's a weird question for everybody who writes songs because it's vague and mysterious, and it usually is like inspiration. Like if you don't have anything to write about, you don't write. It's not like stream of conscious like writing for like I don't know, creative writing endeavors, because there's two layers to it, And from what I've at least picked apart with people who write songs, usually it's like the music's there. I found a melody, wrote a narrative off like a song seed, like you're saying, and like which makes sense. But everyone has like a crazy thing to kind of get into that, And
yeah, sure.
Like
I don't know that I do. I don't know where it starts. It's just kind of, maybe you're watching TV or you're reading something or you're having a conversation with somebody, and just one thing that kind of sparks something,
Yeah.
Build it.
In kind of being in that like writing, capturing like this life, like or filtering it in a way, like when something sparks, that leaves it like I don't know, puts you in a particular situation because you get to appreciate all this random shit that someone may appreciate or may never appreciate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that guy said that thing and it's been knocking in my brain forever and I can't get it out into a song yet. But when you do, you get to share that like that moment with anyone who's willing to listen, I guess. But like it's being in that kind of weird filter state where like things that mean nothing can mean everything in a way.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, like looking at like where the Beagle Club is now, like I saw you have a new song out on YouTube, and that video is really well done. I don't know who did that, but like how the lyric matches up with the text that's prominent to the lyric. But is there a new album that's going to be coming together, or is that just like just something that came out during like pandemic times, or what are we looking at for like the future of the Beagle Club?
The video for that song was for a song that was released on a split.
Oh, okay.
In January. So, that video was this guy, Zach Moser. He's a filmmaker, and he put it together. I sent him I actually found those awful Twitter things and like just replied to them with the line of the song just in order, just so that I would have it would have made no sense to these people saying these crazy things, but that's fine. But those are real things. I mean, those are real things real people said. And then, so I just would do that and took a screenshot and sent every one of those to Zach and a few of those weird little graphics. And then he just put them all together.
That's bad.
He found some more of the graphics, and he did some of the animation, and yeah,
Did you get any weird responses?
nothing, not
Nothing.
one.
Not
Nobody
one.
said anything.
Ah, that'd be awesome if they replied to the video like down the line, like, "Oh shit!" like,
I wish. I hope so.
what was interesting about that one with the song, like the instrumentation's like different. It's like what was the approach with that? Because it seems a little more like kind of digital instruments.
Yeah, that's me, and I play everything on it. I even did the programming and stuff. And then Davis played a little bit of live drums. I sent him that, and he played it. This was all when everything was locked down. And so then Davis played some live drums on it, and then he got Kate to record the backing vocals. And we needed Kate to be on it because the split was a 4-way split, and one of the artists on it was Joe Jack Talcum from the Dead Milkmen.
Oh, nice.
And Kate's favorite band which is an awesome favorite band. Her favorite band of all time is the Dead Milkmen. So I was like, Kate, you got to get on this. It's going to be on a record with the guy from the Dead Milkmen. So, yeah.
Did you ever play with that cat?
I don't think we did.
Okay.
I think we played the same multi-day festival or something, but I don't know that we ever played with them. My friend Brooke Pridemore has played with him a bunch of times.
Oh, I love Brooke.
You know Brooke?
Yeah, I hosted him once at he came through on a Thursday or something, and I was running a mic night, but I met him because he's a New York guy, yeah?
Yeah.
I met him somewhere in I don't know how we crossed paths, but I've hosted him once, and he's awesome.
I love Brooke so much, yeah.
And he's a road dog, too. That guy hustles.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Judge.
We've toured together many times.
Oh, yeah?
It's great. Mm-hmm.
Like during one of the big bands, or like just a solo dolo endeavor?
Both. Brooke has toured with the Beagle Club when there was a full band, and then Brooke and I have done some shows together, just the two of us. And then I also had this country band that was called the Hit and Miss Engines, and it was myself and my friend Dan Oatman and Davis and our friend Emmy. We were like a country and western band, and Dan and I did a tour where it was just the two of us. I just played guitar and he played the lap steel, and we would both sing. And we went with Brooke, so it was the two of us and Brooke once, which was not good. Probably a great experience for Brooke because it was like 2 against 1 the whole time. Whereas with the Beagle Club, you'd think it would be that way, but everybody just sort of blends into one big blob, so it's okay. But
you didn't
I remember being a huge pain in the ass to Brooke when it was me and Dan. So Brooke, if you're listening, it's only because we love you, man.
Was it well, I mean, touring like that, it's got to be you got to go into a different mode, you know what I mean, of like function, like so
he said Brooke's a road dog, Brooke's a professional. They're there for a reason, and Dan, I'm usually happy to be there, and I can get stressed and weird too, but can usually get pulled out of it because there's so much goofiness going on,
Right.
And Dan I can't overstate this enough, doesn't care about anything. He just can't, you can't rattle him if you want to. You can't, he's just the most chill, zen, hilarious. He's a hero. He's my hero. Let me say that. But Dan cannot be moved. So if he didn't want to wake up in the morning, he wasn't going to, or if he wanted to just walk around Chicago and meet strangers and get drunk on a street corner with these strangers that he met while we're supposed to be playing a show, that's exactly what he was going to do. And so Brooke would get pretty annoyed at this with Dan, and I would be just the middle guy to be like, that's just Dan, So we were probably pretty insufferable.
Oh man, that's okay. That puts you in a tough spot because he's with you, and what do you mean we got to push back an hour? We have people in the room; they're gonna leave. Oh my god, I can hear it
I'm
now.
so excited to get to tell this story. This was in Chicago.
Yeah.
Dan finally shows up, right? It's just a house show. There's like hardly anybody there.
Yeah.
But, and like I said, this was like this like countryside project thing to where neither Dan nor I took it very seriously. But when Brooke was like, do you want to come on tour with me? I was like, well, maybe I'll play this country stuff and just ask Dan and he would come. So that made the stakes even lower. It was just like an adventure. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And anyway, Brooke plays their set, and then it was supposed to be us, or it was probably supposed to be us, but Dan wasn't there, so Brooke went. And then it was supposed to be us, and Dan's not there, so then like the other, like one of the locals played instead. Dan finally shows up, and he had found, like I said, he found this guy on a street corner that was drinking something out of a mason jar. And so he and Dan just spent some time together with this mason jar. And Dan didn't know where he was, but by the time he finally finds his way back to the place, he gets in there and he's so like out of it that he just sits down and he's trying to plug in his lap steel, which he had found at a dumpster. And it was one of these really old ones that has like a screw, like where the cord screws into it. It's not just like a regular jack.
Yeah. Oh God.
So he's trying to do that, but he's just like looking at the crowd and telling them the story about meeting this guy, and was just like so clearly not interested in anything but like getting back to hanging out with this guy. That once he finally, he screws the thing in, he tunes up the lap steel and he can't get it in tune, and he's just kind of slurring, and then he's just like, I don't know, man. And I was like, thank you, good night. And like that was our set. We didn't play. I was like, thank you, good night. That was our set. And we were happy to be there. It was fine.
That's
Brooke, on the other hand, it's kind of like,
Okay. One, I totally get what you mean. Like, that is someone to admire, just to take the moment and be in it and just be happy doing that. Like,
Yeah.
I probably would find myself in your position, like, we're here, we're doing the thing. I brought them with me. Sorry. Let's try to make it work. Let's make it to the next show and not hate each other. Like, that's amazing. Because doing those, you never know how they're any show, you gotta be in that headspace of like, oh my God, you're here, thank you, like you took off this night to be here with us, I'm so grateful for it. And like, just because everyone's got stuff to do and people they love to be with, and like they're spending it with you, and like but there's also something admirable about someone that can just like meet Tom on the street and like totally see what's in the bag, I guess.
Yeah. And there's no universe in which I could be like, Dan, this is inappropriate, Dan. He would just be like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry if that hurt your feelings. I apologize to you, and then you can't even be mad at him. You can't rattle. You can't be rattled. So Brooke Dan would give him nothing. He'd give him nothing, no matter how Brooke would get frustrated with him. Dan would give him nothing.
That's a crazy small world. Do you know Matt Pless?
A little bit. Yes.
Okay. Have you played any gigs with that cat?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I just did a talk with him and hosted him at a show not too long ago, and like
cool.
Yeah, okay. It's just crazy how small the circle runs, and like
sure.
Yeah,
he writes really good words.
Right.
He writes really good words, Matt Pless.
Yeah,
I like his lyrics.
Was it now? Like, it kind of he's interesting because like you're right, his lyrics stick out, and like he's got those like punch lyrics where it's like, oh, that line hits, and you think about that one line, but by the time you finish that, there's another one, and you got that with your writing too. That's why I thought maybe, I don't know if you guys crossed paths or had a think tank or some shit, because like you're both amazing songwriters and you have those punch lyrics too. And do you kind of think of it like that in a way? Because when I was talking with him, he thinks of it as like, as he'd be a busker and he would find a line that he would sing and it would grab people's attention. And like with certain songs, do you find that, or are you just making the narrative fall out?
No, I want them to be. Yeah, I want them to be punchlines. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And that's the most important. Like having a big band and a big, basically like this orchestra behind you is really amazing. And especially cool that Matt and then the players themselves would really take that. And I would just I would present the song the same way that I'd play what you hear on the recording for the most part.
Yeah.
Like if you just solo out my voice and my guitar or my piano, that's usually how the song shows up to them, and then it goes from there. So I put a lot of, my focus on writing the words. I want to be a good, that's what I want to, I want that to stand out. And then also have this big band that has the parts that stands out too. Yeah. We wanted to do both, but yeah, I think of it that way.
Okay. Cause like it hits that way. The band boosts the impact. It's like, the band Kamehameha waves your punch or whatever, like nerd analogy I can think of. Like it definitely like it. Okay, because like what was I gonna say about that? It's just like all these levels of it, and I'm like, especially on St. Paul. So with this like split, is there goals to come out with a new record and tour with the band, or like, because I know when you're playing at the Coda, it's just you, right?
That's right. I'm doing 4 shows where it's just me, like a long weekend kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm playing Puza Fest in Montreal.
Okay.
Solo. That's a solo set too. That's in May. And then I've got something cooking for August, and it's going to either be me or just me and like a small kind of band, like maybe it go out as a 3-piece. Because right now, me and Davis and Cody have been working together on songs, just the 3 of us, in Davis's attic. We're just kind of putting them together, the real basic parts of them, and then we'll either build it from there, was the plan. But as we're hearing them back, they sound kind of cool, just like these small kind of arrangements like this. So
right.
I think there's definitely a record coming, but what it looks like, I'm not sure yet, because it's always more fun to do it with everybody. But everybody's really spread out. Like Emmy lives in Washington State, and Matt lives in Harrisburg, and he's in the homeless gospel choir.
Right.
He does the same for them. Like he writes a lot of the music and arrangements and stuff like that now. That's like a full band.
Did you notice that? Because that's like growing up, like with your brother.
That's his thing.
Yeah, that like he hears music in this way, like.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
Okay. What like kind of?
I mean, he used to. We would even like. He would be like. We're twins. We're identical twins. We're into all the same stuff when we were kids. We got into music at the same time, learned to play guitars at the same time. And then he was just like, so we would just like listen to Green Day records and learn how to play them and stuff like that, and then teach each other the songs. And then at some point he just veers off into that. He's like, hey, we should learn how to play this Bjork song. Like, there's no guitars in it. And he would be like, no, we can do it like this. And he would like arrange like They Might Be Giant songs and Bjork songs and, stuff that into these like parts, like pieces for 2 guitars and 2 voices, like just for fun, just for us to do in our spare room in the basement. And he had always done that. Then when we started writing songs together as a band, that would always be him. What if instead of going to that chord, it goes here? Or what if everything drops out here and then we bring it back in? And then by the time it got to the Beagle Club stuff, his directions too are not, they're this bizarre, like, coded language. I think that like a lot of people just kind of like look at him, but he'll be like, okay, this part, I think it should, how about, I want it to everything to drop out here. And then it just sounds like a guy's about to get shot out of a cannon. And me and Davis will be like, dig. Yep. That's what it does. Got it. Where everybody else has to be like, you'll have to explain to me what that means. It means it sounds like a dude's about to get shot out of a cannon. Oh, okay.
And he's green. Oh, of course.
Yeah, at least, yeah, right. What color's this cannon? That makes a difference. Yeah.
Of course. The red cannon sounds completely different. Okay, to have that mindset is such like a unique thing to hear where parts move. And like I find as a guy who's like trying to write songs, and when you hear it back, I get so performance caught up. You know what I mean? It takes me a long time to step back from like did I sing that right? Did I enunciate that word right? Did I hit that note? You know, it takes a while for me to accept my bullshit so I can hear what the thing sounds like as a piece, right? So
Yeah.
having someone like that who can be like, yeah, that's perfect. I don't care what you did. It's fucking notes. You hit them. But let's drop it out here, and then we're gonna canon it. Like,
Right.
did you find that do you get like kind of caught up like that, like more on a song basis, and like, or were you able to like to kind of just, yeah, no, that makes sense, like layer it like that, okay, or was that like a process for you as well?
No, I think I picked up on where he was with it pretty quick.
Okay, that's
And
cool.
yeah, and then that wore into me too. So when I would present them a song, like something like that part where it turns into a little country song in the beginning, in the middle of Intro to Philosophy, like that was already written when I brought it. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
already had those ideas that I would do that kind of stuff. Because if I hadn't done it, he probably would have. You know.
that's awesome.
But what's cool about these solo ones, like you know, like I said, I'm playing these solo ones. And you were talking too about making them communal.
Yeah,
Is that having so many people in the band and thinking about these songs that way, to be in like kind of enveloped in them. That when I play by myself, the challenge, and it's a fun challenge. The point of it, I guess, is to like try to connect to everybody else that's there,
right,
to try to make something happen instead of just like a transactional, you know, I'm just observing somebody singing and playing songs kind of thing, or I'm just looking at people looking at me playing and singing songs, you know, and to try to make it this thing that's happening together. And I've gotten to really love doing that when I'm playing solo sets. And I know that that comes from, I'm looking for that connection that's there when you're playing with 8 of your best friends on stage. When
right,
they're not there, there's this void that you're trying to fill, you know? So
yeah,
it's informed that very much too. And I think that even this solo stuff and the quieter stuff that we're doing now, it still has that, you know, it's still bringing that kind of stuff in. So
it's because so a part of my routine is I play nursing home gigs.
cool.
I'll do like acoustic room to room, you know, or play to a main room, and like, or you know, a group room, whatever. And like, part of what makes that, how you're saying, not just let me play at you, cool, see you next week, is like that engagement. And it's
Yeah.
such a it is such a special thing. And like, I do, when you're with a group, you got that us against the world instead of Scott Pilgrim against the world feel, you know what I mean, instead of getting
Yeah.
that like solo, like I'm fighting everything, or like trying to bring everything together. And it definitely, it's a skill set that it takes a long time to develop, because it's like, I'm confident being me, and we're in this together. It's really reading the room.
Oh, for sure.
What
And do
were
you find that it's still really hit and miss? Like, are there nights where you just can't do it? You just can't pull it together?
Yeah, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
if something interesting happens, I like the earlier before. Like, I find that if you have like a point to share something, or just kind of interact with a audience, like you're uh, um, like with a person. You know, if you can find one thing where someone's like, "Oh yeah, dude, that is weird." You know what I mean? Like that makes it a lot easier to roll into, like, okay, we see where you're coming from. But if that doesn't happen, and I just spend all day like editing this or writing or in my head, I find like it's harder in a way to like connect. But yeah, I don't know. Do you like, is that this kind of, do you experience that, or what's it been like for you?
Yeah. And I'm not sure what makes one different than the other. Like, I'm not sure the factors. I can't figure that part out yet. That's the part I'm trying to crack. Because I could be like feeling great, get into a space, talking to people there before I play. This is going to be really fun. And then getting up there, and before I even play like the first note, just feeling like I'm getting nothing here.
Right.
And I know you have to kind of make it happen too, sort of. But they're just this like, yeah, I can't figure out when it's there and when it's not just yet. And I think that's kind of cool. Like, I don't want to be able to like manipulate people or turn it on and turn it off,
Right.
you know, but
Yeah.
that's what's been really fun about playing these solo sets. And that's, again, come out of necessity, because everybody's spread out, and then, you know, the world shut down, and then
Yeah.
we're just getting older and families and
Right. Well, yeah, it makes it a lot harder to tour and
back
play.
in those soggy dog days, man. This was the only thing that mattered to us in the world,
Yeah.
So a little easier when that's the case.
Definitely. And like, I don't, it is weird because like when you go, when you get nothing, it's hard to kind of give that, oh, well, my day was like blah. Because if they don't hear you and they're like bar chatter, like, you slowly die inside and like, but then afterwards they're like, hey, dude, you sounded really good. Where's your album at? Can I download? Like, what? I had no clue you thought that because you didn't show it at all. Like,
yeah.
But I don't know. That's one thing is like, you can't really define anyone's experience. You know what I mean? Like, because I would always be like, it sucked, whatever. You know what I mean? But thanks, man.
Can I tell you this story real quick?
Please.
My wife went with her uncle Jimmy. Uncle Jimmy's a very stoic man.
Okay.
Right? He's cool. He's a good man, but he's like stone, all the time. He's real stone faced. He was like, I got 2 tickets to see Paul McCartney, the arena there in Pittsburgh. You want to go with me? I was like, yeah, I want to see Paul McCartney. Let's go, So she said, we went. It was just her and Uncle Jimmy. We went with pretty good seats. Paul gets up there, plays for 2 hours, kills it. She was like, he's amazing. He's playing all these old Beatles stuff. He played Lady Madonna. It was great, like he was just, and they played Helter Skelter, and he can still scream like that. It was amazing. She's like, and I'm just like freaking out the whole time. This is the best show I've ever seen,
Yeah.
Like, but I keep looking over at Jimmy, and Uncle Jimmy's just he's just sitting there doing his Uncle Jimmy thing, just looking at it. No expression. I was like, man, I know he spent a lot of money on these tickets. I feel bad, but I'm having a blast. So here we go. I'm just going to have a blast. So the show's over and she says, Uncle Jimmy, thanks so much for bringing me. I hoped you had a good time. And he just goes, that was the best concert I ever saw in my life. And he was totally serious. Like it blew him away just as much as it did Laura, but he just sat, people experience things differently.
That's a beautiful explanation of that. Before you boogie, how did
Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band? Maybe that's what you're thinking of.
Oh, that is what I'm thinking of. God damn.
And it was awesome. It was at a medium-sized, like little club here in Pittsburgh that's but it sold out, and it was the first show that I played after like the pandemic.
Holy
so like
shit.
way to ease back into it. And like everybody had to have vaccinations and wear masks and stuff. And like It felt, okay, let's go. Let's do it. It's time to do it again. But like that was my first show in like 3 years.
That's badass.
Yeah. And it went really great. It was really cool because I don't know that it was really my kind of scene, like he had just ordered ZZ Top,
Okay. Yeah.
But like he does this like folky kind of like, and it's all like open tuned slide guitar. Like he's crazy good at that, and it's cool. But they asked, the venue asked if I would play it. I said sure, and I was really glad I did. It was really cool. I think that there was a commonality there, and it was that connection kind of thing, because I went really well that night.
Was it? That's because I saw that, and I saw he was playing at the Grog Shop in Cleveland, and that's why it's stuck in my head. It's just I don't know. I'm losing my mind today. But like that because I can after listening to St. Paul, I'm like, oh, I can see that panning out. That seems like it'd be a fucking dope bill. But I'm glad that went well, man. That's a great like welcome back show. Like,
yeah, it was awesome.
Well, cool. Well, Mike, thanks so much for chatting with me and reaching out. I'm so glad you did. I'm an instant fan, and I'm excited for your show at the Coda on April 2nd.
Yeah, you gonna be there?
I'm gonna try.
That would be awesome.
But all right, Mike. Well, thank you so much, man. Definitely a fan of your work, and glad we had this convo.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was awesome.
Cool beans. All right, talk to you soon.
All right, later.